into another nation, and first of all do something very practical for a group of people there that's impacted the world they lived in. So we'll tell you more about that later. So there was one thing. The other thing was that we also had the opportunity to go in and do some ministry stuff. So we went to a whole bunch of different groups of people and were able to take the gospel there and to pray for those people. And then the last thing was that we had the chance to allow God to minister to us as well. And God changed every person you'll hear that went on this trip has changed their life. And something's happened in them which they're bringing back to this church, which is fantastic. So the Philippines is an island kind of not too far north of Australia, or a country, and we went to an island called Palawan. And from there, just hear on this, we flew into Manila, we flew over to Palawan, and then what we did is we took a bus ride down to a village called Ransang. Now, just to give you a bit of an idea of what the Philippines is like, this bus ride was an 8-hour bus trip to travel 200 kilometres. All right, and that's because the roads weren't sealed, and we were in a public bus. Right, so this public bus, we jammed in like this, literally like sardines, with all our luggage inside the bus, and all these Filipino people, and their chickens, and their dogs, and their pigs, and all their things, right? And we travelled for 8 hours on this bus to get where we're going, right? So God truly did send us to the ends of the earth on this trip. To give you an idea how cramped it was, all right, now keep in mind we followed all of the Australian health and safety regulations. But on the way back, the bus was so cramped that Jared and Josh actually had to sit on the luggage on the roof of the bus. Because there was no room in the bus, right? So that's what it was like. But, you know, when we got to Ransang, this village, the amazing thing is that these people, it was with Ywam, and the ministry they're doing there, one of them is called a frontier ministry. And all around their village are these hills. And apparently there's a tribe that pretty much lives on every hill. Now, for some of these tribes, they've not even seen white people, let alone heard the gospel. And so their ministry is going and finding these tribes, building a relationship with them, and then telling them about God. Now, I would not have believed that there was places in the world of people that hadn't seen white people, let alone heard the gospel. But when you go there and you see some of these people, you realise how true it is. And I thought, how amazing is it that their ministry is going and meeting these people and introducing them to Jesus for the very first time, There was one of the people on our trip, Peta, who actually made a comment of, she realised how attractive Jesus was. You know, it was nothing that we were doing, but when we go and we give a message, people just swarm around to hear it because it's this message of hope and salvation and eternity and things that they just don't experience in their life. And so that whole frontier ministry was really exciting. Some of the other stuff we did, just to give you a kind of overview, all of those tribes once a week come down into this marketplace and they meet. So we trekked 2 hours up to this marketplace and we just hung out with the people there. We did a couple of dramas, some people got up and shared testimonies, we prayed for some people and just supported the work that was already going on in that place. We also went out into a whole bunch of local schools. Again, you know, in the Philippines, they kept saying to us, oh, it's just half an hour walk, just 30 minutes. All right, I think the shortest walk we had was 2 hours, I think, so, to get anywhere we had to go. We had to walk to all these different places. So we walked to a school that was like maybe 2 hours away. But, you know, went in and ministered to these kids and just, you know, mucked around with them. Some people shared testimonies again, did dramas, did songs and stuff. Fantastic chance for them to hear about God. We also did some work in a church, local church there, which was great. And probably the one, if you were here last week, you would have heard me talking about this. Probably the one thing that impacted people the most was this dump site. Just around the corner from where we're staying was a tip, you know, a rubbish tip. And people actually live on this tip, and they've built their homes out of gear that they found on the tip. And, you know, some of the kids are not clothed, you know, they don't eat regular meals and things. And the Ywam base there, they've got this program, and once a week they'll go in and they'll feed the children. And so we had the privilege of being able to go with these guys one time. And so, you know, it just wrenches at your heart to see this stuff. You know, they get one meal a week, and the kids line up with bowls that they've probably found actually at the rubbish tip. And they come and they get their 1 or 2 scoops of food. And then what they do is they run off and if they can, they try and share it with their family. And they try and wash the bowl out so that it's clean, so they can come back and get more if there's any left. And, you know, it's a biblical principle that God puts us in the place He wants us. And so it's okay that we do the things we do in our society because this is where God's called us to be. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's not a guilt kind of thing. But man, we have to keep these things at the forefront of our mind, that people are living like this. You know, they are on the verge of physical poverty. that we've just never experienced. And you know, I would encourage every single person here, if you get the opportunity to do a trip like this, just if it's to experience that one thing that gives you perspective on how God is blessing you in your life, then that's worth it. You know, I'm sure to hear when the guys start giving their testimonies some more about that and how it impacted them. One of the other things we did was some construction. And in Ransang, in the village we were at, we built a dormitory and a training centre. Now, when I first got told that was what we were going to be doing, it's like, it doesn't sound like that much of a thing, just build a dormitory and a training centre. But when we went there, what we found out was the dormitory and the training centre were for all of this frontier ministry work, which Ywam were doing. And so that as they go and meet people in the tribes and bring them down, they need somewhere for them to stay so that they can then be trained. So all of a sudden you realise the importance of this dormitory, this training centre, and the impact that it's going to have on many, many lives over the years to come. Now, in 2003, they put up posts and a roof. Okay, so they couldn't use it as a dorm, they couldn't use it as a training centre, particularly if the weather was bad. So they had the posts and the roof there. And since 2003, they've been praying that finance would come and labour would come to help them finish this off. Now, I don't think I've ever prayed for anything for 5 years. You could add that up. You know, and yet when we arrived, it wasn't like, well, about time, or yeah, we gave up praying for that 2 years ago. They've been persevering and consistently praying into this thing for 5 years. And so when we arrived, it was their answer to prayer. And you can imagine how excited these people were to see this team rock up with finance and do it. And you'll see some of the video or the construction that we did. It was a whole lot of hard work. The last thing I just wanted to share with you is some stuff about the finance. Because I know a lot of people contributed financially to this trip, either through donations or through sending your kids or through the fundraising night that we had. It's amazing how God uses the stuff that you invest into His kingdom. All right, when we eventually left, I was told that we only had $4,000. I'll be very transparent with the amount of money here. Right? We were told we were left with $4,000, and we were told that to build the dorms and everything was going to cost $4,000. So we were kind of thinking that's all we were going to be able to do. What we found out when we got there is that Filipinos don't have the same project management and estimating skills that we have in the Western society. So $4,000 was just someone coming up with a number from I don't know where. In actual fact, it only cost $3,000, which meant we had $1,000 left over to do some stuff. So we were able to make a love offering into the church. A lot of the kids that go to school just can't afford pencils and paper, so we bought a whole bundle of paper and pens and pencils and crayons that will last them for I don't know how many years or months to come. We also wanted to play a ball game at the school, and the school didn't have any balls, so we went and bought a couple of balls for the school, which was really good. We sponsored a family who's working at Ywam. So this is a mother, a father, and three kids for the rest of the year, so they don't have to worry about getting money for the rest of the year. We worked out, I think it was $50 a week to sponsor a family there to live, to do that tribal ministry work, just $50 a week. We paid for, we didn't pay for him, we had a translator who, we prayed before we went that God would just give us a translator who would be able to obviously translate what we were saying and do it well. But this guy was like far above our expectations. He was like pretty much the best friend of everybody on the trip. Arthur, his name was. He's a great guy, and he may be coming to Australia, which is exciting as well. We also bought a whole bunch of stuff for Ywam, just general utensils and things I didn't know, which was cool. But the last thing, and I shared this last week, I want to share it again. This is the one that blew me away the most. The night we went to the dump site for the feeding, we had $80 Australian left over of all of that $1,000 that I told you about. And we thought, we'd like to pay for the food for the dump site. So I went to the lady and said, look, I'm really sorry. Like, we've only got $80, but we'd love to pay for this meal tonight. And she started crying and said that $80 Australian will probably feed them for the next 3 months. All right, so the average wage in the Philippines is $4 a day. And $80 Australian will feed the people on that dump site for 3 months. I think we went and spent $180 on 1 week's worth of groceries the other day. And just like, man, does it blow you away? Okay, what we're going to do, this is the plan for today. Let me give you a plan. We've got a DVD, right, which is going to give you a nice big umbrella.